And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the one and only Layne Beachley. Please welcome this extraordinary woman to the stage.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for braving the inclement weather and coming out here tonight. It does take a village to raise a child, and it's wonderful to see so many people here in support of Zali and Zali's campaign. Zali, it's wonderful to have so much support and love in the room, isn't it? Yes. So some people may actually say that Zali hasn't been very active or vocal, and I honestly say you haven't been paying close enough attention. She connects with our youth to hear their concerns. She collaborates with organisations to create safer communities. She advocates for women, for refugees, for the elderly, and of course she advocates for our environment. Our independents have become the voice of the opposition, and Zali has done a brilliant job in listening to her community, representing her constituency and voicing our concerns at federal level. Because we all know we've had federal representation who chose to not listen and therefore not represent. So thank you for doing what you do, Zali. I mean, who else would present a Stop the Lies bill? Who ever thought that we could bring truth back to our government in advertising? So independents are powerful and working like the conscience of our parliament by bringing an independent mind to each issue, not beholden to a party, not beholden to big donors or actual politics. They speak their mind for what's right. And the PEP 11 bill and climate change bill are perfect examples of this, forcing conversations and calling out the lies and deceitful behaviours of our government. This is what I call an honesty barometer. And we all know, and I'm sure we agree, about how much our current government needs to be held accountable. Our greatest threat to our future and security is climate change. Yet our federal government is in complete denial. A gas-led fuel recovery, subsidising the fossil fuel industry at $1.6 billion a year, setting unacceptable greenhouse gas emission targets, if any at all, and blocking clean energy transitions, failing to provide any clear roadmap towards zero emissions. Our government is clearly more invested in climate destruction than climate recovery. And I know they were your words too, Zali. The science, however, is undeniable. We know now that the time is now. The opportunity to turn the tide is finite. Fortunately, we have a very proactive, passionate and vocal leader like Zali who's willing to stand up and fight for what we know is right, and that's to change our current status quo when it comes to our environment. 3 days ago, NOPTA, the National Offshore Petroleum Titles Administrator, finally sunk the PEP 11, or the Petroleum Exploration Permit 11 bid by Asset Energy to explore the gas off the New South Wales coast between Manly and Newcastle. Now, this was not without its challenges. We've held protests, paddle outs, lobbied our leaders to do what's right. And it's been a collaborative effort. And we owe Zali a huge debt of gratitude for driving this campaign. Together, we stopped PEP 11. Together, we did it. A campaign supported by Surfrounder Foundation, Save Our Coast, Surfers for Climate, Living Ocean. We were all instrumental in this powerful grassroots movement. It was an historic win for all ocean lovers and will provide future generations a chance to enjoy one of the most spectacular coastlines in the world. I mean, think about it. Can you imagine doing a survey of Warringah, for example, and asking them, do you think it'd be a good idea if we just drilled for oil and gas off this coastline? It's batshit crazy. Of course not. But there was a good chance that was actually going to happen, that we would be standing here and one day seeing oil rigs off our coastline. How ridiculous is that? It was actually, well, Scott Morrison did announce around early December that PEP 11 wasn't right, but it still sat on that website pending approval until 3 days ago. Now, perhaps it took a looming election to make it happen, which is a sad indictment of our current state of political affairs. But droughts, fires, floods have ravaged our nation. This once-in-a-century flood has hit twice in the last 5 years, and that just isn't natural. Australians want climate action. Change is definitely occurring, and there's only so long we can sit and watch what is happening without taking some form of action. Millennials, I'd have to say, are the first generation with the technology and the will to solve this problem, but they're the last generation with the time. The transition to clean technology and renewable energy has been framed as something that is going to cost us a lot of money. But the fact is, the only people that are going to bear a cost are the fossil fuel billionaires who control the coal, oil, and gas companies. We need to disrupt the systems that are harming us. We need to look at the systems that are supporting the big polluters and keeping fossil fuels flowing, and decide with your wallets, with your voices, and your votes. The biggest thing that we can control as individuals are where we place our money and how we use our voices. We can choose where we invest, and we can also choose who we vote for. So Zali presented her own climate change bill and PEP 11 bill, but because it was her proposal and not theirs, people who claim to be advocates for the environment, like Jason Falinsky, for example, voted against it and didn't even allow it to be tabled in Parliament. Instead, relying on typical political rhetoric by saying independents are powerless, they can't do anything, and then proceed to distract us with questions like who's going to pay for it. You know what? As long as they're in power, we are the ones that are going to pay for it. And this is completely unacceptable. So by keeping Zali in power means keeping gas and oil in the ground. She has done everything within her power to call out our leaders, challenge the status quo, and representing the concerns of us, her community, her constituency. This, to me, is what proper representation looks like. Zali stands for integrity and trust, equality, a new economy, climate leadership, local environment, modern healthcare. And Zali, I'm willing to ride that wave of opportunity and wave of change with you. Thank you.